Hello and welcome to the program, The Desk on Global Television. Time for us to look at issues of trending on the current affairs space. And on today's edition, it's no different. We'll be looking at key issues, and especially as we wind down to the year 2024, we'll be taking a look at certain sectors of our national lives and give a scorecard as regards what the year has had in store for us. And the Nigerian legal system has been marred with various issues and difficulties which are due to bad leadership, inadequate financing, lack of judicial and quasi-judicial personnel or trained personnel, and lack of legal practitioners. One major problem of the Nigerian legal system is the delay in the court proceedings and the backlog of cases. This problem strains everyone involved in litigation, from the lawyers, the judges, the litigants, and even the court officials. The problem stems from having a limited number of judges, courts, and judicial workers. And when you bear in mind the number of cases filed in court on a daily basis, then you begin to get a sense of how the burden these people go through. And implementing an electronic case filing system and digitalizing court processes can speed up case management and also reduce delays in legal proceedings, judgment and execution of a judgment, and also on the flip side also help cut off the corruption that is being witnessed in the judicial space. These and other issues is what we'll be looking at on today's edition as we x-ray the judiciary that has been in the bad light of not just the public but also very relevant government agencies like the National Bureau of Statistics that have come out with very damning survey results showing that the judiciary and the Nigerian police force are the two most corrupt agencies. And so we'll be looking at how true these surveys are, and the implications of these surveys is what we'll be looking at. And hopefully a legal mind will be joining me in the live studios to help us look at this very, very delicate issue, but very important for the sustenance of Nigeria's democracy and democratic journey. We'll get back into our discourse after this quick break. Please stay with us. All right, welcome back from that break, and let's just give you a rundown of some of the challenges facing the judiciary, which includes a delay of trials, like I told you earlier on. We also have the issue of executive high-handedness and also lawlessness on the part of the executive. We've got corruption, insufficient funding and also the financial dependence on the executive arm of government has always been an issue. Then we also have the ethno-religious bias by the lawmakers. Then we also got a justice compromise, dependent on the executive arm of government for justice enforcement is when rulings are made and the citizenry or bodies do not adhere to the court rulings. Most times you find the judiciary hoping on the government to prevail on the security agencies to enforce the court rulings and judgment. That has also been a very big issue for the judiciary. Then we've got the internal interference on the part of the NJC, and then we also have got Nigeria's corruption challenges are central. Just for you to know that Nigeria's corruption challenges are central to the country's struggles with insecurity, inequality, and inadequate provision of public goods and services, and tackling corrupt activities is made even more difficult, especially the fact that these agencies and these bodies are interdependent, and the misappropriation of public funds in procurement and also contracting processes, which continues to erode Nigeria's already limited public spending capacities, further enables it by a weak and compromised judicial system. Because the judiciary is compromised, it means other systems or other institutions can barely get their job done. For example, the police and the judiciary, because of the corruption in between those two agencies, you notice that our judicial system carrying out rulings of a court becomes very foolhardy for it to be achieved. Meanwhile, Nigerians have taken some steps, in as much as Nigeria has taken some steps to reform the judiciary and procurement sector. Efforts have focused primarily on establishing legislative structures and also formal rules, but further consideration needs to be given for the informal social dynamics that may enable and perpetuate corruption. So we're hoping that some of these reforms will be done, because most Nigerians disapprove of judicial bribe taking, but these corrupt practices persist despite various regulatory reforms, and future efforts must therefore be made to acknowledge the role of the informal social norms. Meanwhile, Nigeria's constitution establishes an interdependent judiciary, yet repeated scandals at the highest levels of the country's legal system indicate serious vulnerability to corruption. One of the recent cases has to do with the issue between the Afe Babalola and also a fellow legal mind in the person of Dele Farotimi, where the issue of defamation was taken to a different level with the way he was bundled from Lagos to Ekiti and spending 20 plus days before he finally got his bail, granted bail, and him meeting his bail condition. And also we had very disturbing, facts or reports reaching us as regards what really played out. What he did say, talking about Dele Farotimi, that has caused that huge cry. So it just tells us that the judiciary has lots of cleaning to do for itself, and we're hoping that the new CJN would be able to get the job done where other men folks have failed. We hope the women can at least succeed. And the issue of the executive being nice, extremely nice to the judiciary, has also raised concerns as regards the recent buying of cars, provision of accommodation by the FCT minister and government is being seen as a very bad signal that might mean that these judicial officers would be arm-tied peradventure in future. Any case is brought before them that concerns the FCT minister, it means they'll be technically obliged to want to tool towards that direction because of the favor he had done for them previously. And that's one of the reasons Nigerians are concerned and saying it's of wrong footing for the government the FCT minister specifically to shower blessings of such magnitude concerning cars and houses to the judiciary. Rather, the NJC should take charge of those provisions for their persons or judicial personnel. All right, we'll go for another quick break. Hopefully, when we return from the break, my guest will be in the studio so that we can kick into the discussion completely and wholly. He's a judicial mind. He'll be speaking from the part of knowledge as regards as a judicial operative. Will be giving us a very clean fact as regards why these things happen, and if the judges have a way, they can go around it. But one of the key issues is the independence of the judiciary. Can it be achieved is a big question, especially talking about the financial autonomy for the judicial officers is very key, because as long as they keep depending on the government to fund them, to release allocations or budget allocations to them, it means they would be, like a pawn in the hands of these executives and government. So the judiciary definitely needs autonomy in terms of financial autonomy so that they can call the shots themselves without being influenced by whatever favors they feel the government or government officials must have done for them previously or in the now. So these and other very important points is what we'll be looking at on today's edition as we look at how to clean up the judiciary. After this break, stay with us. Well, welcome back from the break. It's now time for us to hit the discuss button, and we told you we'll be X-raying. Judicial X-ray is what we're doing today. That's the kicker. Resolving issues in the Nigerian legal system is what our goal is. And I've got Nuhu Ijia, who is Esquire Chairman, Citizens Liberties Committee, National MBA. He is live in the studio. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, my brother.
All right, let's look at the judiciary. A lot to be said about the judiciary, but first of all, I just want your overall summary of how you think you would assess the judiciary in the year 2024.
Thank you so much, Mr. Momo. Actually, if you look at the judiciary today, you will know that we have passed through a lot of hurdles. We have recorded some successes, and then the Nigeria populace are also complaining and crying for the judiciary not living up to date with its judicial constitutional functions, and that the judiciary have actually underperformed in terms of assessment by the general public. And I would say that with what is going on, gradually the general public confidence, or they have lost confidence in the judiciary. They have also lost confidence in the Nigeria Constitution. Recent happenings that we have recorded in the recent past.
Okay, one of the key issues is the autonomy of the judiciary, especially the financial autonomy. People have the opinion that as long as the judiciary goes hand in cap to even seek what is rightfully theirs in release of the financial payment of judiciary, the judiciary cannot be independent as long as they don't easily get their monies, because the government decides when and how much it gives to the judiciary. Do you think that's a stumbling block for the judiciary's operations?
It's seriously a stumbling block, because there is a saying that he who pays the viper dictates the tune. What is happening in Nigeria judiciary, Nigeria system, it's a very, very sad issue. And looking at the fact that the three arms of government ought to have been independent, each operating independently, running their budgets, operating as an independent arm, times of dictates, in times of institutional framework, and then you discover today that the executives are the one that keeps the judicial budget, even though the legislature will pass the budget, but the financing will be done by the executive, and that has hampered on the independence of the judiciary. You do not expect someone who will be depending on the governor, depending on the president to pay salaries, to pay their staffs, to also get allocation as to the day-to-day running of the system. In the finances of their houses, cars, and other incentives, they come directly from the president, the state governor. And the fact is that if we continue to operate in that way, there is no way you expect much from the judiciary. I would like to appreciate the federal government with the recent increment, which their salaries, wages, and allowances have been increased. Of course, that will encourage them to do more and give back to the society. But the fact is that if you look at the recent happenings, like what has happened in the FCT, the recent issue of the FCT military, for judicial officers, you discover that there are divergent views, but the fact still remains that if you allow the executive to do that, of course, you are bringing them in a way that they will have room to discuss and negotiate. How many judges today can be able to give judgment against the government? How many judges can be able to give judgment against those who are the corridors of powers? These are the pertinent parts.
Is the judiciary supposed to be people of integrity, and like there are three separate arms? Is it impossible for the judiciary to stick to their guns to say they want this money is released to them directly without going through the route of the federal government, is it possible to say, okay, we're not going to swear anybody in unless X, Y, Z demands of the judiciary are met? Is it impossible, knowing fully that technically the judiciary, they've got powers also that can twist the government if they truly are united and sincere?
Yeah, in terms of judicial independence, you discover today that there is this notion, the general public, that the judiciary has been given their own autonomy. That is, they can operate and run their budgets on their own. But you discover that that is not true. Today, the chief judge of a state will tell you that we are depending on the government for this, that, this. The reason is very simple, because the autonomy lies in the mouth of those who propagate it. But the actual fact is that there is no judicial autonomy. And because of that overdependence, you now discover that the courage, the fact that a judge needs to be courageous, give judgment, in fact, be impartial in times of delivery of judgment, you now discover that because they are tied to the state's actors, the key actors who are the leaders, the executive, you cannot get more than what we are getting today. But one thing I must say is that there must be lights at the end of the tunnel. The reason is, with these increments and with the views, the opinions of many populists, that judiciary ought to be independent, that no matter what they are getting as human beings, they should be contented and be able to deal with cases, issues independently. And with that, they will use that to checkmate the government. All these things of sponsoring judicial officers abroad for medical checkup by the executive and what have you should not arise. The judiciary should run a system.
Can we hold the NGC responsible for this recent spate of what the FCT minister has been doing, the government have been doing, building houses? Is it not criminal, to say the least, what's happening? And why is the NJC not speaking up? Are they not supposed to be a body of that's supposed to protect the integrity of the judiciary?
Yeah, I will take you back a little to the government of President Muhammadu Buhari, where you discovered that many judicial officers' houses were burgled around 2 a.m. by the DSS and some of the security apparatus. I can tell you for free that it's very difficult for the senior judicial officers, that is the judges, including the NJC, to speak for themselves.
Why?
The reason is simple.
The Constitution backs and supports them. They've got...
We have a government today that antagonize and victimize individuals who come out courageously to speak. This is not supposed to be.
People like Afe Babalola, who used his might to bully Dele Farotimi, how come someone like that cannot speak on behalf of the judiciary? At least he has passed his prime, he's passed, and can't people like that speak? If they can't speak, there was the sincerity in giving them, calling them, reverencing them when...
Yes, I can tell you for free that despite the fact of the recent happenings between Chief Afe Babalola with Dele Farotimi, Afe Babalola is one of the most reverend individuals in the private legal practice.
Is it based on what?
Private legal practice, but Nigeria as a whole.
Based on what?
Based on merit. He has...
On merit? Yes. But Farotimi... Okay, finish up.
He has done a lot. As a legal practitioner who lived for over 6 decades, he has achieved a lot to his record. And these are individuals. Afe Babalola is one of the individuals who has been at the forefront of canvassing for the independence of judiciary. I can tell you for free that the person of Afe Babalola has been at the forefront of canvassing for independence of judiciary. He has been canvassing for judicial autonomy. He has been canvassing that the justice sector must be completely independent from the government.
Well, this last episode, does it support what he has been fighting for?
My brother, I might not have the legal muscle for me to comment on that issue, knowing fully well that the matter is sub judice.
Okay.
The matter is pending before the court of
that's
law.
fair enough.
I think the court will do justice to that. But to tell you that an individual cannot completely influence the legal system, you can see what the LPDC has done. They have gone ahead to dismiss his petition and say that they don't have jurisdiction.
But was that
the petition?
But were they smart in that the way they?
I give it to LPDC because I am not seeing it as persons who are smart, but I'm seeing the committee or the body as individuals who knows what they are doing. They knows their impetus, and that's why they've come out to give their view that no, we don't have jurisdiction to entertain this matter, this complaint, and as such we dismiss the petition. For the person of Afe Babalola, if you so much believe in influencing the process, Afe Babalola should be able to influence the LPDC. But to tell you that as lawyers, we are also watching. The NBA is watching. The NBA president has come out to make comments.
Do you think the LPDC, their hands were tied, so that was why they had to come out with that, knowing fully well that they cannot but say anything different, knowing fully well that the world was watching them keenly?
Yeah, you see, the good thing about some of this process is that the media has amplified it so much that even the government have not been able to curb the media space for those who have been propagating this gospel. Of recent, I read, I don't know how truthful is that, but that there are some sanctions that the international community, some of the institutions have started taking against the Afe Babalola University. But you know, the fact is that, as I said, I don't want to go far in this discussion, most especially that the case is pending before the court of law. Whatsoever that will happen is that the decision of the court will pretend or will be more superior than your opinion and my opinion. But be that as it may, I think that the Nigeria police has a lot to do in terms of fighting and combating crime, instead of descending on individuals whose petitions are written based on a civil complaint. Yes, we know.
Do you think the Nigerian police actually played to the gallery in that case?
Of course, nobody can exonerate them. They actually did. They played to the gallery. You cannot arraign Dele with handcuffs as if he's an armed robber or a kidnapped.
But don't you think that was influenced by whatever directive they must have gotten, the way it was put before them? Because they were so swift. That's what when it comes to certain issues, the revered Nigerian lawyers or other statesmen, they come with, it's like killing an ant with a sledgehammer. But when it comes to national issue of national importance, we don't see that vibe. We don't see that.
I sincerely beg to differ. Nigeria police is an institution, and in running such institution, yeah, you might get one or two interventions, but you have the sole decision to take that I will not allow myself to compromise in respect of this matter. It's very simple. Individuals might reach out to you, but the decision lies on you to say that I will do the right thing. Let us invite this fellow, since it is a petition, we can write to him as a senior lawyer to invite him, investigate the case, and if there are any likely facts that yes, there are criminal issues that have arisen at the cost of him publishing his book, you can then upon act and charge the matter to court. I don't think that he deserved that kind of treatment that the police melted on him.
So can we say the NBS report and other poll surveys that did put the judiciary in bad light, it's true that the Nigerian police force and the judiciary are the two most very intriguing agencies? Because you guys work hand in hand.
Yeah, the Nigeria police are doing their best, despite the fact that they have a lot of pitfalls, shortcomings in terms of.
But don't you think these shortcomings are kind of deliberate? We saw what happened in Cross River State, River State. where they refuse to offer security for that election, local government election, which was very interesting. First time since I've been a Nigerian to hear that Nigerian Police Force is withdrawing from providing security for local government elections, and they felt it was the right thing to do. Then when it had to do with 27 lawmakers who had defected, who the laws did say once you defect from a party that brings you into power, you cease to exist. They are still backing those people.
Yeah, I will, as I said from the beginning, that some of these issues are issues that are before the court. In fact, some of them are before the appellate courts. But I believe that in terms of that Rivers case, yes, you have your own view. But to my own mind, Nigeria Police only said that we are complying based on the court order that was served on us. That because there is a court order, we are not going to provide security for the purported election. But
there was a court order as regards those 27 lawmakers. Why didn't they adhere to that particular court order?
That is one thing with Nigeria, and that comes back to the judiciary. And that's why I will applaud the current CJN, the Chief Justice of Nigeria. Brother colleague, jurisdiction, conflicting court act as a result of treating the system, which is the judiciary. You give them room. Mr. A comes to FCT High Court in Abuja. Mr. B will run to Federal High Court, Port Harcourt, and begins to get orders that are conflicting. And based on the provisions of the Constitution, we know that the FCT High Court and the Federal High Court are courts of coordinate jurisdiction. A court of coordinate jurisdiction. And once there is an information to the fact that this matter is pending before your brother judge, you just have to hands off and allow your brother judge to decide the matter. And today, talking about the judiciary, I will be touching some issues that are very, very pertinent. Number one, I will touch on the issue of the chieftaincy tussle that happened in Kano State.
In Kano State, yeah, that's a very interesting one.
You see, what happened in Kano State in the past, honestly, to my own mind, it's very, very ridiculous. Number one, you ask yourself some questions. The issue of Kano Emirates, is it within the purview of the federal government, the state government, or the local government? Does the Federal High Court has jurisdiction to entertain such matter, despite the fact that it was a fundamental enforcement that was filed? And if it's a fundamental enforcement, will you now take to the gallery by issuing an order as a sitting judge who was not even in Nigeria as at the time the matter was filed?
Was that Liban? Oh boy, interesting Liban.
All these are issues that are very, very disturbing. They are worrisome. And I tell you that as a Nigeria, not only a lawyer, you discover that when you step out in the public space, the insult, the abuses on our justice sector, including the legal profession, is very, very ridiculous. And the fact is that people do no longer have confidence on the judiciary, because we must be seen to live above board. As a judicial officer, a judge sitting in a matter, you must try your best to disconnect yourself from that matter, no matter the influence. The best you can do is to write an answer, tell them to transfer the case back.
Do you think this is going to work, especially what the FCT minister is doing, this housing issue? It's still a very big talking point. But away from that, some persons have said, in as much as we are saying the judiciary is corrupt, we have very decent lawyers who are doing great, judges and who are doing great jobs. What's the possibility that these good eggs amongst the bad eggs will suffer from not getting appropriate, an appointment because they're not playing ball with the politicians? Yeah. Because the last presidential tribunal we had before this one, they had to do with the last administration. It looked like, or this one, it looked like some persons were compensated for being in the presidential tribunal by getting some elevation immediately after the tribunal elapsed.
Just as you rightly said, we know that for the judges who are completely honest, and are completely not corrupt. These are individuals who are suffering from persecution, even within their cycle. You discover that cases posting are done based on one or two influences. And that's why today we are saying that despite the fact that we know that the system is terribly corrupt, despite the fact that we know that our constitution have not guaranteed certain rights to some individuals who will completely do their best to see that the right thing is done. I want to say that the judiciary of today, we have good individuals who are doing justice to what is being done to them. Cases allocated to them, they dispense justice in such a way that every Nigeria, every reasonable man on the street will know that the right thing has been done. And I will give kudos to them. Like recently, I was discussing with the judge, and the judge was telling me, we met in a program, and he said, look, I am passing through persecution just because of the right thing that I'm trying to do. And in many occasions, I have given judgment against some government key actors, against the state, where the message I got is that I will be decisively dealt with. At some point, they were threatening me that I will be dismissed. And I said, wow, for doing the right thing. Okay, why not, if such cases come, if the posting, if I tell you the whole thing, you will laugh. Because today, the judge, being one of the most senior judge, was transferred to a place where I don't think that, based on ranking, he's supposed to be posted out.
Is the NJC not aware of these anomalies?
The NJC might not be aware, considering the fact that some of these happenings are happenings in the states, and the judicial officers have the courage to come and report to the NJC that I am being victimized. Because most of the times, these are little issues that has to do with internal runnings of the system. And because the person who is sitting at the ends of the affair is the chief judge of the state, you cannot go and report your CJ to the National Judicial Council.
Why?
The reason is simple, that if posting is done to you as a judicial officer, you ought to go. No matter the ranking, you have to go. But some of them are out of malice. Are you with me, my brother?
Yeah.
Now I can tell you that there are good eggs, there are good individuals,
no doubt,
who are in the system, and such persons are individuals that will let you, the media, to go after them, project them in a good light, and make sure that they are not victimized in any way. And by doing that, you will have assist and encourage them to keep the good work on, and then many others might try to take a cue.
Okay, so we're going to share this burden before we wrap up the conversation. We've got 5 minutes. You're going to help us with the list of those good eggs. We're going to see how we can bring them on and talk
That's
with us.
That's completely impossible, sir.
So how are we supposed to get the job done?
From your assessment today.
No, you are in that sector. You know them best. So when you tell us this is the, we'll go to our findings to be sure that
do that off the camera.
Obviously. Let's wrap up our conversation. We're going to have a part 2 of this hopefully next week because time is not our friend.
Before we come,
yes. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to comment on recent judgment by the Supreme Court of Nigeria in respect of local government
autonomy. Okay,
and that is a very, very serious issue that called to question. And we now say that the justices of the Supreme Court, the Apex Court, sit down in the courtroom and amend the Constitution on their own without taking cognizance of Section 162, 167, and other ancillary provisions in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Can they do that? That is a very critical question. Number 2, the judgment they have delivered. One of the things we know is that the essence of judgment is compliance, that everybody must comply. But
your state is not complying because
only Anambra State, there is virtually no that have complied with the judgment of the Supreme Court.
And where does that leave the judiciary now?
Thank you so much. And I said that we're going back to what has happened, except the Nigeria Constitution is amended, there is no way that you give validity to that judgment. The state governors in recent time, I have heard, I don't know how factual is that the Edo state government said in as much as is concerned, that judgment is completely illegal, it's null and void. And you know what is happening in Edo state today, that the whole council chairmen were dissolved by the sitting governor, having been elected by the people and result sworn in. And the Supreme Court have gone to say that the dissolution of local government chairmen is illegal. But how much more have the state governors have been able to comply with the said judgment? Are we not getting into more trouble by giving a judgment by the highest court that the local government fund should come directly from the federation account, while there is a provision, section 162 of our constitution, that talks about the state joint account with the local government, and that provision has not been amended?
Very interesting.
Is that not a coup stage in the afternoon?
Okay, by the judiciary.
Court,
okay.
Not even. Yes.
This way time is good. That's how much our time is going to take us. I want to say a big thank you to the chairman of the Citizens Liberties Committee, National MBA, the president of Nuhu Egia, for joining us in the studio, but he has to come for the part 2 because we have so much to talk about we've not been able to delve into, especially this one he has mentioned as regards the local government autonomy. A lot to talk about, section 162, 167 and 165 you mentioned. Thank you very much. Hopefully Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, one of these days you'll be joining us on the desk again.
Thank you so much, my brother, my comrade, Mr. Tony. Thank you, Global TV. Compliment of the season.
Yeah, same to you too.
Nigerians who are watching this program, I wish you all the best and that you continue to enjoy the holidays which we are in.
Alright, so that's how we call it a wrap on today's edition of the program, The Desk. I want to say thank you very much for joining us, and hopefully, like he has promised, he's a barrister, so we're holding him by his words. Next week he's going to be here to finish what he has started. Good evening.
Yeah.